glad everybody came today. I don't know what we're gonna hear. If you got any questions, ask. And I got somebody back there that's Justin. So anyway, we do appreciate all of you coming. We're gonna ask Rick, if he will, to ask the Lord to bless this gathering, and we will do whatever it is we're gonna do. There's food. By the way, there's restrooms down this hall. Back here in our back, there's restrooms through this door from here, men's and women's, both places. So, just so you know.
So all of you who know this family, you know that we are a storytelling family. We all get accused of that. Not all of our stories are true, but nevertheless, we're good storytellers. And we learn from the best. In fact, when I was young, I said I don't like the Bible because there are no pictures in it. How wrong I was when I started reading and I realized the best pictures are there. It's the kind of pictures that this lady's going to do today. They're in story. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You can see it. There it is. So storytelling is a part of our heritage, so glad to be here with all of you. We're grateful to our God for these ladies who represent the family that we came from. Thank God for the family that we came out of. We are truly blessed, you know that. So God, thank you. Thank you that you blessed us with a great family, great heritage. The stories that have shaped and molded and directed our lives were birthed in the hearts of these who have gone before us. And so to that end, we pray that you would use these stories to continue to do that in our lives. And to you, we give all praise, honor, and glory. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Anybody would like to go ahead and get them something, some snacks or some drinks, whatever. Let's do that. And I think Mom's ready to go.
She was ready to go when I got here.
You got to get them feet up in there. There you go. You got to get this thing close to her.
Well, I've been ready to go about this thing ever since. Joe is the one that put the spark in it. He was talking to me one day. He said, how did our grandparents get together? One lived 60, 70 miles away, another in another part. There was no transportation. How did they get together? I said, I know the story. So I've been digging, and I got Lane's granddaughter. She has been so helpful. She was hunting her father's relatives, and she run into ours, and we are kin to her. That's what gets you in trouble when you start trying to figure out who you kin to. No, we're proud of Lane. She done all the writing, she done all the search. She really done a lot to help with this, and I am so proud of her. But as we think about who we are and how we got here, everybody has a story. There is always a reason for somebody's existence. And the way our story started, my grandmother, my mom's mother, was a Johnson. And she married a man, Mr. Gibbs. And he was an older man, much older. And they had 2 sons. And when these 2 sons were just little, the baby was 2, and the other was something other, 3 or 4, something like that. Mr. Gibbs died. But in his will, he willed all of his money to his 2 sons, but they couldn't get it until they become of age. And he willed the farm to our grandmother. And that's how it all started. My grandmother, after Mr. Gibbs died, she met our granddaddy, Sam Pierce, and she married him. And they began to have their family then. And as time went on, kids come real fast back in those days. When the baby boy, Uncle Felder, I've been asked about him in some of the crowd here. Mama's baby brother was 9 months old when our grandmother died. And Mama was 9. She was the oldest child. She was 9 years old, and she had to raise that baby. Can you imagine putting one of your little granddaughters or something that's 9 years old over a baby, you gotta raise this baby. My granddaddy had to work, but he was farming the land that our grandmother had inherited. And then the weather got bad for several years, they couldn't grow a crop. Our granddaddy took a job in the commissary. Some of you people may not know what a commissary is, but it's a grocery store that has a lot of stuff. To feed the family, that's how he fed the family. He took this job, and it went on for 3 or 4 years, and he couldn't grow, because DuPont is in the edge of the open swamp. It is nothing but mud and water. So he talked to the kids, and he told them on one occasion, he had already remarried now, after our grandmother married. He remarried pretty quick, because he needed a wife to help with those kids. And we talked to the first bunch of his kids, and said, we have got to do something. We can't live like this. I've got to get some way to make a living. So they agreed, the 5 kids, by my grandmother, they agreed that he could go and try to find a place that's suitable for making food, grow and things. So he saddled his horse and he left. And he was gone several weeks before he came back. And he told them, he said, I found the perfect spot. And I bought, what do you call it when you pay so much down to hold the land? He paid something down to hold the land until he could really make a choice of what he wanted to do. So that's what they agreed, that they would move. And he said, it's in Pierce County. It's a way off, but we can make it. This is some of the stuff that Mama told her. She wanted to be a school teacher. She tried. And she remembers a lot of things. And this is what she's told that Granddaddy said, we've got to do something. So they agreed. He went back to Pierce County and made arrangements to get the farm. And he come back and he began to build wagons. He had to build wagons because that's the way they had to move. So he built one covered wagon for the furniture and the clothes, but they built some other wagons for them to ride in. Took 3 weeks to go from DuPont, Georgia to Pierce County, Florida. Pierce County, Georgia. Anyway, it was quite a trip, Mama said. They had a lot of fears and things that would come scare them. They couldn't travel the main roads. You cannot get out on the main roads with stuff like that. And they had to go across a lot of creeks and had to cross one river. They have to unload everything before they can get the horses and the wagons across. Then they have to put it all. It was hard, very hard on them, but they made it. And they went to Pierce County, and that's where they settled. They found this place, and I know right where the place is. I could go right there to it, because I went with Mama several times. She wanted to go back. Ever so often, I'd just like to go back and see, and we would. So as time went on, they enrolled in the old school that was right there in that neighborhood. What was the name of that school? Harrington School, the old Harrington School. And she wanted, like I said, she wanted to be a school teacher, and that's what she was preparing herself for. So she finished through the grammar school through the 7th grade, and in those days, when you graduated from the 7th grade, you could go straight to college. And there was a college in Blackshear, Presbyterian College. It's the old high school. If somebody, Joe went, it was the old high school that I think it's still there. The college left, and that's when they turned it into a regular school. She went a year, she boarded with the Davises, Lloyd Davis's family in Blackshear. And when she went the next year, about halfway through the school season, our granddaddy Pierce came down with cancer of the face, and her brother Raymond had TB of the bone in one of his legs. And the expense was so great that granddaddy could not keep her in college no more, he had to take her out. So she came back. It didn't disappoint her all that much. She went back to school just to help the teacher. She didn't get no money, she wasn't hired, she done this all on her own. And she helped the teacher, tutor her kids, and she was happy with that. So at the end of the school year, there was always a school closing. You young people don't know nothing about the school closings. I knew about it. We have them. At the end of the school, they would always have little programs for the kids to do if the parents could get there and see it. So Mama, on one occasion, she rode the school bus that morning. She wanted to see what we were doing. But getting back now to her, there she was helping the teacher at the old Heritage School. And she put a play together. And the teacher liked it. And she said, well, we'll do this on school closing day. So that's what they prepared for. They got it all fixed and lined up on the porch. There was a porch around the school building. And the teacher said, this don't look like I think it ought to. We need some little trees or bushes, something to fill in. So the teacher was trying so hard to figure out how they was going to make the play work. When this young man came up to the school closing in a buggy and a horse, she said, okay, this is our answer. She went to it and she says, Lester, I want you to take Carrie and take her around to these houses and borrow some plants off of the porches. And you better behave yourself. Now this is exactly the way Mama told. Anyway, they went. They got some bushes and things and put them on the porch, and the play went on, it was fine. And the teacher was so happy that she told Mama, she said, you're gonna make a great school teacher. Well, Mama still had it in her heart that she was gonna be a school teacher. Well, when the play was over, they had to deliver the plants back. And she said, Lester, you heard what I said, behave yourself. Well, that's exactly what he did. And that's how Mama and Daddy got together. They got to dating after that. And they soon got married. I don't know what year it was. Somebody might know that has some more of this information than I do. But that's the way we became Pierces and Boyds.
So how old is Grandma Boyd?
Y'all gonna have to talk loud.
How old is Grandma Boyd? How old?
She passed.
Oh, no, when she got married.
How old was she?
When she got married.
She was 19. See, she had finished high school, or in grammar school. At that time, it was high school. And she had went to college 1 year and a half of another, so she was 19. And when Granddaddy Pierce came down with cancer, it really was bad. It went fast. And then my uncle, Mama's brother Raymond, had to have his leg amputated, but he got an artificial leg, and he went on to be very, very good. But Mama's the two oldest brothers that was born to our grandmother when she married the Gills, Uncle Lee, Uncle, y'all, when you get 90 years old, you forget. Uncle Grover and Uncle Ben. Uncle Grover took a job with the state highway department, and Uncle Ben became a politician, and he made a great one. Jason pulled him up on his camera, phone thing,
Yeah.
and it told everything this man did. I mean, he was smart.
He made a judge and he was a senator.
Yeah.
He done a whole lot of stuff before he died. We never met his wife, our aunt. We never met her. She was a society girl. She didn't have anything to do with country folks. And we were country folks. But we lived good. We lived as good as anybody did in those days. Because our daddy worked hard. Our mama made our clothes. She worked hard. She created dishes that everybody was fascinated with. Fried green tomatoes. My economics teacher in high school thought I was crazy. When she asked me one day, she knew there was a big bunch of us young, and she said, "Do you know what do y'all eat?" I said, "Fried green tomatoes." She thought I was crazy. She went home and told her husband, she said, "Genoa's family has got to be very poor." He said, "Why?" I said, "They eat fried green tomatoes." He said, "Don't knock it till you try it." Well, she spent days hunting some green tomatoes. She finally got them. She told me. She finally got them. She fried them. He told her, he said, "Don't throw that recipe away. That's the best thing I ever eat." That's the way my mama was. She would create something that you would never dream that would be worth anything to eat. But she had to do that when she was growing up. She had a hard life. Mama was proud of her life. She was proud of her family. The Johnsons were very, very educated people and smart. Her grandparent Johnsons. Joseph E. Johnson, that you studied about in Georgia history, was my mama's uncle, great uncle. His two brothers was in the same war, and they were not as recognized as Joseph was. They were very educated people, the Johnsons were. I met some of them when Mama lived with me, and they were fine people. They really were. So we had a good heritage in our lifetimes with our families. We got enough to be proud of, y'all. I don't mean in a way that would make us seem to be better than anybody else. But we come from good blood. We come from clean blood. There was nothing ill that we have found, and Lane can tell you this. Nothing. She was hunting her daddy's people, and she kept digging and digging till she come across a family named Harnages. Her daddy was into them, and we were into them. So she kept digging. She, bless her heart, she's sweet as pie. She dug all this stuff up for us. Y'all need to thank her. It was good to learn all this stuff. It's amazing what she has written down and what she has kept for us, our future, to have, to be with, to learn and to know more about our family in the past. It was great. And I enjoyed it. I still want to hear some more. And she's going to get more. Y'all have any questions? She can answer them.
Tell them about how Mother paid for the farm.
Oh, yeah.
And
That, I should have got to that.
that.
I missed it. I left that out, not intentionally. When Granddaddy was talking to his 5 children about moving, the farm belonged to our grandmother, his wife. And she had died at this time, and our granddaddy had remarried. But he was talking to those 5 children, and he said, I know I have no say-so over the farm because it is made out to your mother, Carrie. But if we move, if we do anything, we're going to sell it. We can't carry the farm with us, and we can't go off and leave it. We've got to have some money to start on. And they were old enough at that time to understand what their daddy, our granddaddy, was telling them. We've got to do something. That's how they got to Pierce County. So when they bought the farm where we were raised, it came from Mama's money. Mama's money bought the farm. And Daddy never threw that up. He never made an issue out of it. In fact, I didn't know that until sometime later when Mama was telling us all this younger stuff that they did, all of this traveling with the wagons and all that. I didn't know that the money was actually our grandmother's. And Mama took that money and bought the farm where we lived, where we were raised. There were no fields, nothing was cleared. Mama and Daddy cut the trees. They hauled them to our granddaddy Boyd's house. He had a sawmill, and he sawed the lumber. They built the house. Mama and Daddy lived with our grandparent Boyds, and until they got the house where they could move into it. And that house burned later in life, and us older folks know about that. And then they rebuilt the same house in the same place, and that house now sits right down the road from us. And a boy Boyd. I met him this past Saturday, I think, for the first time. I knew he was there. I had been down to visit with him, but every time I went twice, every time I went, he was never there. But he came up to my Saturday morning. I was sitting on the porch, and this truck stopped, and this fella got out, and he was stooped over doing something. I said, "Are you in trouble?" He said, "No, ma'am, not really. I'm trying to get my dogs. They run away from home. They're little bitty things." And I walked out to the mailbox, and I asked him, I said, "Where do you live?" He said, "In that house right down there, it's in the woods. You can't see it." I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Jonathan Boyette." I said, "Okay." Now I'm getting the picture. And then I told him I was a Boyd. I said, "You said Boyette, we say Boyd, spelled the same." He said, "Yeah, we were taught to say Boyette." I said, "Well, we were taught to say Boyd." I told him, I said, he said, "I know about you, but I've never met you." And I told him we were having this little get together, and I said, "The family would love to meet you." And he said, "Well, if it's where I can, I'd like to come." So I don't see him, so I don't know. Maybe we can get together again one day. But I told him how proud I was. If you drove up to that house, you would think it was sitting on that hill where we were raised. It looks the same. He hasn't changed nothing outside. Still a porch around it. And his wife, when I told her where I was, she invited me in. The inside is still the same. The room's just decorated and done a little different. And I told him how proud I was. And he said, "Well, that is a good, fine house, and we like it just like it is." So it's right down the road from us, between us and US 1 in the woods. And he said to tell get a family, if they want to drive in, come on, it'll be fine. I don't think he meant all at one time. Because the cars will be all the way back out the highway. But it is in a beautiful place, and it looks the same when you drive up to it as it was when it was down there on that in the other community. So I was so proud just to get to get inside and look.
Can I ask you a question?
Tell them,
What?
tell them how Daddy would work in Kingsland during the winter
Oh,
and come back in the summer and farm.
Daddy promised Mama, when they bought the farm, that he would never mortgage it. They would never do that. So after we moved in, and I guess when the money was spent on the house and whatever they needed to use, Daddy took a job at the Chevrolet place in Kingsland as master mechanic. We got a picture of him in that old building, in that, garage or whatever you call that place where they work, he's there. We would go down and stay for a year or so, sometime until they thought they had ample money to come back and farm the farm for a few years. I think that we did that about 3 different times. And whenever Daddy really had a bank account that we could really count on. The last move we made, I was a year old. Charlie was a baby. And Mom, no, Charlie was not born. I'm getting ahead of myself here now, I'm thinking something. Charlie was not born. This was in December before he was born in February. Mama needed some help with the washing. Back then, ladies, you washed outside in a wash pot. There weren't no indoor place in the house. There weren't no running water. It was well water. You got your own water. It was Christmas. Marita's 13 years older than me. She was taking care of me. Mama was trying to get herself ready. She was fixing to have another baby. She was not well at this time. She gave Marita the money. She said, you go to town and buy Christmas presents, but get Jimmy a doll. Y'all, I love dolls. Still do. We had a colored washburn. She had a little girl my age, and we played together. We just loved each other. Marita come home with the Christmas presents, and guess what she had? A black doll. Daddy like had a fit. Back then, you didn't do that. Y'all know how it was. You older ones, you didn't associate with them people. You just didn't. That was wrong. We know that now, but that was the way it was. Well, when they got ready to move back to the farm, it was in April. Charlie was a baby. I cried because Mama gave my doll away, my baby. And Daddy told me, he said, honey, if you were crying, I'll buy you another one. Well, we got home. Mama needed to bathe the baby in and some other little things she needed. She sent Daddy to Cresses in Waycross with a list. This is what we need. And Daddy was in there. And Daddy's first cousin worked in Cresses. Cousin Clinton Bland. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. And whenever she got all the stuff up that was on the list and was getting it ready, he said, well, I want it. She said, but Leslie, it's a black doll. He said, I don't care. I want it. She was just about out of fit. But anyway, Daddy bought that doll and brought it back. I was tickled to death. I had my baby. You know, when we think about the things that we have been through and think about the things that people did, we have to know that we have a God, you know, that takes care of every need we have. I don't say wants. We didn't have all of our wants growing up. There was a lot of times at Christmas, all we got was fruit. A whole box of fruit. whole box of oranges, whole box of apples, whole pile of bananas, grapefruit, coconuts. That was a lot of our Christmas, lots of some winners when we got Christmas. And we were proud of it. It was all good. We didn't cry because we didn't get toys. Because we knew that nobody really got toys in those days. Mostly food and clothes. And I want you, family, to know that you got a lot to be thankful for. You had good grandparents. You had good parents. I don't know if anyone in our family has ever spent prison time. I'm not saying everybody was perfect, but I don't know that. And if there was, just don't tell me. But it's true. When you are born into a big family, you learn to give. You learn to share. And you learn to do without. And that's not a bad thing. Some of the things we learn to do without is stuff we don't need anymore. But Mom and Daddy always gave us the essentials: food, clothes, and a good house, and the right kind of bringing up. That is to be proud of. That is to be honored. That is to be respected. And that is why I like to talk about it. I do. I've wrote books and books and books on family life. Not books, they're not published. Pages and pages of family life. What the family was doing. All of these things. And I wrote a poem about Grandpa's Boyd's house. He had a big house, my granddaddy. It was about 12 or 14 rooms in that house, but he had a big family. He had a sawmill, and he had to feed people. And I just loved that house. There was a coffee grinder on the wall with our grandmother ground coffee. Put the beans in there. And there was a block, and they let us get on that block and we grind. One time, each one, that was all. We never bothered that coffee grinder. But that was fascinating, y'all. To see that coffee being ground into perfect size. There was just a lot of things growing up about living like we were raised. We weren't raised near as hard as our parents were. Near as hard. What would we do if we had to move 70 or 80 miles in a wagon? We'd scream and holler and have a fit. Yes, we would. I probably would too. But you go to thinking about the things that we did. It was a lot of fun. Syrup pulling candy time. You grind cane. Daddy would always save a little in the board that Mama could take it out and cool it, and we made syrup candy. And she'd pull that stuff, and it'd be white as cotton. Then she'd take the scissors and cut it in blocks. There was a lot of things our mother did that we could enjoy. And that was one of them, that syrup candy. She could make anything out of it. You give her a bowl of flour and a jug of milk and some lard. We didn't always have butter. And she could cook up some of the best stuff you would ever eat. But she learned the hard way. She had to learn the hard way. And I just pray that we take these things that we learned from years ago, teach them to our kids. You kids have it great. You don't know how it was when our grandparents and their grandparents was raised. There was no electricity, no cars, none of this. No refrigerator to run jerk up and get something cold. No stove to turn on and cook. You got the wood, you built the fire in the stove and you cooked. There's just so many things that we can be thankful for. And praise God that we had parents that knew how to take care of all of these things and make them work for their families would be better. And that's what we do today. We want our families to have the best. We want them to do the best. We try to send them to the best schools for them to learn. And that's what family life is all about, people. It's not how much I got, how much I made, how much I'm gonna do this, how many trips I go on, how many cars I own in the yard. It's not about that. It's all about living and loving and appreciating and teaching our kids some of the things that was taught to us. Now, if anybody's got any questions, y'all gonna have to talk loud or come or ask Ben, get with Lane, whatever. With a brick, cause I wouldn't play like he did. He was mean. He really was. But it was only because he didn't have nobody his age and his size and a boy to play with. The boys was older. They didn't want to get out on dirt and play cars with him. So that's why, that is one reason why Charlie was as mean as he was. And he was. He was pretty terrible when he wanted to be. But when he wanted to be, he could be good. Yes. And I love him. I get so mad with him sometimes I want to shake his teeth out. I really would. But I loved him. I really did. You know. Anything else?
Aunt Jenny, great grandpa Tom. By the way, you talked about his big house. It was torn down probably 30 or so years ago, but that was one of the larger homes
Yeah.
in this part of the country. But anyway, he had his kids by his first wife, right?
Yeah, he didn't have no kids with Miss Mary,
How many, was he just married twice or 3 times?
just twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Miss Mary was the buck hog.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she was a bird. And
You told me,
this was kind of, Joe, I'm glad you brought that up. This was kind of unusual, how our granddaddy remarried. He was just lost with our grandmother. And there were some men in the neighborhood, they felt sorry for him. They couldn't, I think Lloyd Davis was one of these, or somebody in that family was one of these men that was involved in this. They had watched Granddaddy just sit on the porch. He wouldn't do nothing. He missed grandmother so much, he just quit. Well, they found a woman. She was a widow woman, she had kids, and she lived away when nobody knew her. But I don't know how they got a hold of this lady. But she was needing a husband. She had kids, and she had no way to work and make a living for her. They got with her and told her that we know a place where you can go and you will have a home, and it will be better if you will agree to do this. Well, she agreed to do it. They went and got her, brought her back, said, now Tom, this is your woman. This is exactly what I was told. This is your woman. You're gonna live with her, and she's gonna take care of you, and y'all gonna have a life. Well, she was too old to have kids anyway, but she was good. She had her bad times, but us kids loved her because she took up a lot of time with us, but she had her kids too. So that's how he got married the second time. It was that way.
well, it was his first wife, was she a Thornton?
Yes.
That's, I wondered how we were tied into the
All
Thornton.
the Thorntons, you were kin to all them Thorntons. Lane hadn't got into that yet. I don't think.
But Leslie works with a lady at Baylor There's a Thornton that we're kin to in
A
Dallas.
lot of applications selling, you know, a lot
Yeah.
of Marshall and DL's family.
Yeah. Our great grandparents are born at old, that
The Thornton family.
Thornton, out there where the Thorntons
B and
live.
James Cemetery.
Big,
Raymond.
no.
B and James Cemetery is what they're calling it. B and
Maybe it was
James.
big, but they were born, they were buried in the Thornton community because our grandmother was a Thornton.
Rainer, are you gonna record this? I mean, I'd like,
Yeah, I've got it right there.
I mean, if you do, you know, print, I'd sure like to see
Yeah.
a copy or
Yeah, you can get a copy of this. Yeah, it said that they were buried at B and James Cemetery in Pierce County.
I'm talking about all this research.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, I can get copies of this.
She'll send y'all 4 volumes.
Yeah, 4 or 5. It keeps
And
growing.
we're also kin to the Davises. Yeah.
Now,
Huey and Gene Davis, well, a lot of you that live close by know Gene Davis. They live right across the big road that goes up to Bewley Church from us. Me and Penn used to go over there. Gene he could play that piano. He weren't knee-high to a bullfrog, but he could play that piano and we'd sing. I'm telling you, we'd have a family reunion with all the singing you've ever heard. We had a good time. And Penn and I, I've got to tell y'all this, we sung. Daddy would put us up in them primitive Baptist meetings for us to sing, not the songs that they sung, the songs like we sung at our missionary Baptist church. We made our own music. We clapped and we did it. And Daddy would put us up and we'd sing. And I was about 13, Penn was 9 or something. We ordered or bought, every time we made any money, we bought us a record. Chuck Wagon Gang. Y'all, we learned them songs from one end to the other. And we were invited over to Beulah to sing at one of their scenes, so we went. Pat carried us. You ready, Ann? Pat carried us. Cheryl, y'all. Anyway, we sung our heart out. And Linwood's daddy was there. I didn't know him. He didn't know me either, really. But when the singing was over, he came up and he said, we're gonna have a sing at Lee's Chapel next Saturday night. I want you girls to come sing. And I said, I don't think we can get there. I don't have a car and I can't drive. Pat was there. He said, I'll see that they get there. So Pat carried us next Saturday night to sing. And the man that asked us was Linwood's daddy. My husband, you didn't know Linwood Lee. It was his daddy. Well, I didn't know who he was. I didn't even ask. And later on, when Lev and I started dating, and he carried me up to meet his family, and I saw him, I said, that's the man right there that's got me into this. He didn't realize the connection there right at first. But that's how I got to be a lead. Right there. Yeah.
now, going back to the Pierces. Now, he was married to the first woman and she passed away, and that would be Granny's mama, correct? My Granny's mama. And then he remarried, and then they had another set of kids.
Another 5 kids.
And then he passed away.
Yeah, and she
And
married.
she married again and had another set of kids.
Yeah, they had, the next marriage was a Sweat. And he died, she had 3 kids for him. And he died, and then she married again.
Yeah.
But there were no more youngins.
Oh, there weren't any children in that
So
last
there was
marriage.
4 generations of people there born to 2 different people, really. And first and the third were not canned. The third The second and the fourth were not kin. It was a rat race. I mean, you had to stop and think about that, but that's the way it was. Yeah. Our granddaddy was married. He married our mother, our grandmother, and then he married another woman, and she had more kids, and then he died, and then his wife married, it's a mess. Yeah.
What about William Boyette, our great-great-grandfather, his wife, I can't remember her name.
Who now?
William Boyette, he's buried at Ben James, Seth's son that moved here.
Well, now, I don't know what her name was. We got some good, but I hadn't looked it up. But, she was a Summerlin. I can tell you that much. I don't know what her first name was. And the Summerlins that are in Waycross, we're into. Yeah. That's that, and this woman that was a Summerlin, she was, let me see, who was she?
We're talking about William, that moved from,
Anyway.
Georgia.
Are you talking about William Thomas Jefferson's father?
Tom's dad, yes.
Okay, he was married to Sarah Priscilla Holland.
Holland, that's right. So where is now, who are you talking about, Aunt Jenny?
Which one?
The Summerlin.
Summerlin. Charles Summerlin, Joe, do you know him? Charlie
Yeah,
Summerlin?
he came here to, your birthday.
Yeah.
July.
Rick into him,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, I don't know how Aunt Zell.
My granddaddy boy, his wife was a Summerlin.
Right.
Aunt Zell was, our grandmother's sister, Aunt Zell. Cousin Clint of Land, do you know who I'm talking about? That was Daddy's first cousin. That was Aunt Zell's daughter.
Aunt Zell, she was real old when I was young when she died.
Right.
Teenager, 18, 19.
And that's how we were kin to them on the Bullitt side. Yeah. One time something odd happened, after the house burned. Leva and I was down one night and we had supper and we was sitting talking and Daddy mentioned something about he was having to preach a funeral. And he said, I don't have a suit to wear. Well, see, nothing was saved out of that house. He didn't have a suit. Well, nothing was said about the suit. And on the way home, Linwood said, you go down and get your daddy tomorrow. You take him to Howard Thompson's and you get him a suit. Linwood couldn't think of him preaching and him wanting to wear a suit. My daddy was very proud of his clothes. And I went down the next day and I got him. I told Daddy, I said, we're going to buy you a suit. And Daddy was very tender-hearted. He started crying. I said, now Daddy, don't cry. You're going to make me cry. Carried him to town, to Thompson. And I knew the lady that worked in there. She was, I'll tell you in a minute, everything to me. She was Daddy's first cousin. And I had no idea what in the world. Just a minute, give me a minute. It'll come to me. Anyway, she was working in there. When we walked in, Daddy said, her name was Pauline McDonald. Edgar McDonald. So she married Pauline. She was a Thorn. Daddy said, Pauline, what are you doing up here? She said, Lester, I work here. And I said, my gosh, they know each other. I didn't know. I didn't even know how. Well, we didn't say anything until we got in the car. And I said, Daddy, how did you know Edgar McDonald's wife, Pauline? He said, she's my first cousin. Her mama and my daddy was, her mama and my mama was sisters. And I never knew that. And I'd been married and in the family several years, and I knew the McDonald's, and I did not know. That's how families, they can get scattered and they can get lost. Your identity can get lost real fast. And sometimes you have to be careful. You may be dating your brother or your sister. You just don't ever know. That's what happened way back in the 1800s. You just never know who you're associating with. That's how people get scattered. Jobs.
You didn't mention, but when the house burned, how the community fell in and built it back. I mean,
Yes.
We helped serve ourselves, but it was amazing how the women come and brought meals and cooked every day, and they built that house.
I was in the 11th grade when the house
So you
burned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Darlene was there.
I was
Lynn
there.
was there, when the house burned.
yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Everybody was so good
Yeah.
to Mom and Daddy in that community. We couldn't live in a better community than we lived in. Everybody tried to help somebody that was in trouble all the time. And when the house burned, Daddy had, the inside of our house was finished, but they were gonna build 2 rooms upstairs. But when they got the bottom part finished, they moved in, because Earl and TJ was babies then. And naturally, Mama wanted her own space. And they went ahead and moved in, and they said, well, we can finish the upstairs later. Well, as we all left home, Daddy got some logs, and I don't know, Joe, if you knew anything about this. He got some lumber saw. He wanted to finish them upstairs room. The place was up there for him. And the house burned.
He stacked the lumber outside,
Yeah.
so it would cure. They
Yeah.
didn't build houses with the raw lumber back then. They let the lumber cure, and then they would build houses with
Yeah.
it. And he had it stacked outside like that, so the lumber was cured, so he could build the upstairs.
Yeah, that's what he was gonna do. So they had to build a new house and use that lumber.
And the neighbors were so good. That afternoon, the house burned that morning. That afternoon, they came and they cleaned off the land and everything. And hauled everything away, and everything was clear. And they started building that house the very next day.
Yeah,
Did they ever say what burned the house?
and we had Christmas,
Everything burned in the house.
everything.
But
They got-
what caused the fire?
Mama and Dad, they had killed a hog that day, and I was in school, and we had a wood stove, and the wood stove, the house just had shingles on, and the wood stove had a piece of tin around it to keep the sun and all from falling back down. And Mama and Daddy had come in, and Mama had started a fire. And she had started a fire in the wood stove. And the leaves had fell from the trees. There was big oak trees in the yard. And the leaves had fell from the trees and got in the groove of the house. And when she went out, she looked and she saw a soot burning in the top of the stove. She went out to get the hose to put the fire out, and when she turned around and looked, the whole top of the house was on fire. She ran in and she threw a pot out the door that she had. She threw a pot, and they saved the couch in the living room. They pushed it out, and she was pushing the chair out with a mattress. She had a mattress in her arm, and she was pushing the chair out the door. And
I got off the bus there that day. I'll never forget that.
Daddy was gone. He had gone to the neighbors. And whenever he come around and he saw her pushing that chair out. And then the neighbors saw it. And it was fun.
You know, everything was burned.
But they even had a housewarming. It take 30 days to build it. They had a housewarming and they were back probably better off than they were before it burned.
Right. The neighbors brought furniture. We had furniture brought to us and everything. It was amazing.
But I think the reason that we had such good neighbors, my mama was a good nurse.
Yeah.
She delivered babies in that community. She really did. She done everything she could. Mama was just that kind of a person. When Deke Maddox, Joe knows who I'm talking about. Deke Maddox was a little boy. His mama got really sick. And she couldn't make it. She couldn't do it. And Mama took Dick and brought him home with her. He was about 3 years old. He's the age of Hap. And you girls may know who I'm talking about. You've probably heard your daddy talk about Dick Maddox. He was like a brother to us. He lived in our house till he was about 10 or 12 years old. But he was always at our house. He was always there. The mom and daddy they were the best neighbors, and I am bragging on my parents. I wouldn't have taken anybody else's parents above mine. They wasn't rich, but they cared. They cared for other people as well as their own family. And Mama delivered, like I said, she delivered a lot of babies around there, and she never complained. She'd get up at night. They come get her, and she'd go. Sometimes she'd be gone 2 days, but we made it. You know, when you got parents that care, it's blessed. Yeah. It's a blessing, y'all. Yeah. If you've got parents that care, they'll always be there for you. They really will. They'll believe you, they'll trust you. And we had those kind of parents.
And they planted gardens, and the neighborhood would come and gather out of the gardens. If they ever needed anything, all they had to do was call Lester, and he would give it for them. And they had corn and peas and beans and that the neighbors would come and gather. They swapped back into, when you got tobacco, you swapped back into to help the neighbors with their tobacco. You didn't gather it by yourself. You swapped it back into.
Is it true that Grandpa was a dentist also?
He had a pair of hooligans, didn't
Daddy said he had horse, for the tooth on the horse, but he'd also pull kids' teeth too.
Oh, yeah, he pulled my teeth. He pulled my teeth. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
He did. He would we had a shoe last. Do you know what a shoe last is?
No, they don't.
And a shoe last is a metal piece, and it's up on about that high, and it's a lot of last made like a shoe. And he would take our shoes and cut the leather out, and he would turn them on top of that shoe last and take tags and nail tag our shoes, our leather shoes, so we could keep wearing them.
Tell them about the family that forced them to sex.
Oh, there was a family, Joe knows what I'm talking about, that lived right across the creek. The creek separated us, Joe, the Tillmans, and the boys. And they used arsenic or lead to kill certain worms. They would dust their plants with that. And the Tillman man had the son Leo. And arsenic lead is a powder, very strong poison. And he had some left, so he went in the kitchen, there was a baking soda box that was empty on the top of the shelf. He got that box down and put his arsenic lead in there and set it back up there. Well, when his wife got ready to make biscuits, she reached up and got the baking soda and put it in the biscuits, and she like to kill them all. They didn't know what was wrong. Here they come across the creek. Now this is before I was born. Here they come, I heard all this. They come across to get Mom and Daddy, some of the family. They're all laying out, they're dead, they look like dead. Daddy got over there and he looked, he saw the man that owned, the old man. He said, this bunch has been poisoned. He said, well, how did they get poisoned? I ate the same food they ate. Well, they got to talking. He didn't eat a biscuit. She made biscuits. He didn't eat a biscuit. And whenever they realized what happened, Mama went and poured milk in them. I don't know if that done any good, but she saved that family. They would have died. You know,
She put eggs in the milk.
you have to learn, when you learn things, you have to remember and get the best out of it that you can. Mama being the only girl in the family, she had four brothers. She had learned a whole lot. She really did growing up. She was pretty smart. She would have made a great school teacher. She would have made a great doctor. Yeah. That's the kind of family we grew up in. We wasn't rich, but we were proud of everything we had. We made use of everything there was. Mama didn't throw away a scrap. She took the UNR sacks and bleached them white, and they looked like linen and made us clothes. And nobody knew we were wearing a UNR sacks. Mama was smart. She was very smart. And my daddy was too. There was nothing he couldn't do. You know, when you've got that kind of heritage, it makes you just proud to know that I did have parents. They were hard. They made us work, but it didn't kill us. That we had parents that taught us how to live. And that's what we did. Taught us not to listen. Like I said a while ago, he laid the law down for those boys. And he told them what you will do. You will not come home smoking. You will not come home drinking. And they knew he meant it. And not the first one I know of has ever been arrested. Yeah, Mama was funny. She was a jokey. She liked to joke. Y'all will like this. We always have a big garden because there was a bunch of us. And there was some people in the community wanted to get some tomatoes and wanted whatever they could get. And Mama was going to can tomatoes. Bo Stewart, y'all, he was a first cousin. He lived at our house too. He was mean as a snake, but he didn't do nothing bad. He was there, and Mama had got through with the family wash, and the wash pot was still clean with hot water in it. And she told Addie, she said, if you will have them boys to go to the garden and pick them tomatoes, I'll can them this evening, and then the neighbors can have what is left. Daddy said, boys, y'all heard you, Mama. Well, they knew, they heard, and they had to act on it. Well, we had an old car they called the pedal jumper, and they got off down the road, and this cousin said, you know, if we had that puddle jumper, we'd take it around there, that tomato patch, it'd help us. Well, Bo, you go get it from Daddy. But here Bo went. Uncle Lester, we need the puddle jumper. Well, he let them have it. They lined up down that tomato row, put Bo at the tub. They threw those tomatoes at each other and threw them to Bo, and he threw them in the tub. Well, they got them picked and turned into the house, but they eased them in the back door. I ordered to line them up and give them tomatoes just like they put them in that tub. Here they come. Mama, we heard you was gonna give us them tomatoes. She started giving it to them. She throws them tomatoes. Oh boy, Milford was still at home at this time. You girls know who I'm talking about. He cried. He didn't like to be busted. But Bo, it was funny to him. He never forgot. He'd say, Milford, just spat. That's all it would take to make Milford mad again. But things like that went on in our house a lot. We always had somebody in our house besides family like that. There was always somebody there. We grew up, we wasn't hindered from having fun. We had fun. But when it come to work, we knew we had to work. We worked hard, but it paid off. Joe knows some of that, because his daddy was one of these people that grew up in our house. He was our older brother. He went to war. It like it broke all of our hearts to see him leave, but he had to go. He done a great job while he was gone. He married a fine woman.
Yes, he did.
Raised a fine family. We love Josie, just like we always knew her. She was different in a lot of ways because they do things different. But she was amazed at some of the stuff that we did. She was. She was. You just be proud of your heritages. You be proud of your family. Sometimes they get kind of, as the old saying is, they get kind of sideways, but don't throw them down. Don't kick them out the door. Don't do those things, because we all make mistakes. But there's always room for improvement. And we serve a great God. And He's the one that leads us. And He directs our paths. He does. There's a whole lot of stories that I could sit here for a week.
Oh, I could too.
Yeah, we could tell you things, yeah, we could, that happened with our family. But I'm so proud of my family, this family that we have. We're just so proud that we have each and every one of you. And we'll always love you. And I'll say it again, if I could ever do anything to help.
Aunt Jenny, tell us that story about a turkey.
My mama got into turkeys, and she raised turkeys, and she would sell them to people for Thanksgiving and things like that. But the tom turkey that fertilized the eggs, he was huge. He was a big old turkey. He was mean. Them boys had made him mean. They had fought at him. And he would chase you. It didn't matter who it was, he would chase you. We had a neighbor that lived across the field, the Davises. The girls were our age. We were big pals. And they were a little on the heavy side than we were. Now, they wasn't real big fat, but they were heavier. They come over, and if they didn't let us know across the road, hey, we're here, that turkey would get them. One time they'd come, and they didn't let us know they were out there, and that turkey got after them. He run them around the house. They couldn't even stop long enough to get on the porch. They were going so fast. They would tell that thing,
And it was so funny, and they just make you think that that turkey scratched them to death, and that turkey never touched them. But he would chase you.
But they turned the turkey in the house. Mama had got ready for big meeting, and the boys turned the turkey in the house, and it stripped the curtains. It tore the house up. I tore it up. They stripped the curtains and done everything. It destroyed the inside of the house.
Hey Jenny, do you remember the time, I think Uncle Milford and Uncle Weston had the pet coons and they turned them in the house, or Granddaddy and
Oh, you climbed up the
they went in the fireplace and got smut and got all in the bed.
Yeah.
went down the cover, got smut on the sheets and everything.
Bloated everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all, there was always something going on.
Yeah.
But sometimes it got cleaned up before Mama and them could get home if they were gone, but sometimes it didn't. And there would be a little bit of war going on there for a few minutes. But, I think it was good for us to know that Mama and Daddy wanted things like it should be. Mama wanted things clean. She was a very clean person. She wanted things clean. We had a lot of fun, but we worked hard.
Yeah, we did.
We worked hard. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we can go back. There's stories after stories that I could tell, but we'd be here all week long. But I just want to let y'all know that this has been good. We need to do more of this. We need to get together more of this. Because there's some grandkids on y'all's side that I don't even know. You know, and there's some on that we got that y'all don't know. We don't know each other like we used to. We're too busy. We're too busy trying to get things fixed right. And it's taken away from a lot of our home life. It really has. Joe was just talking about it, come back after off the cruise, he's tired, wore out. We're going on vacation to rest, but when you come home, you got to rest. That's just the way life is nowadays. It's too fast, entirely too fast. We don't have time. We really don't. But I appreciate every one of you coming. And I really wanted y'all to know your heritage, how you got here, the hardship that it cost, and the things they had to go through to make it work. We have a lot to be proud of, young people, a lot, because we had good things. We really did. I introduced Betty Ann, Cheryl Ann, Glenn, all that. I introduced their mother and daddy. Didn't intend to. I mean, it didn't work that way. She come home from me from school, and Daddy and Pat, he had just got out of service, and they were butchering a little pig. Daddy wanted some fresh pig, and we wanted to go to the movie. There was a famous movie playing in Waycross, and Pat said, well, y'all help us with this pig to get through. I'll take y'all to the movie. Well, Daddy wanted some of the meat ground up, like sausage meat. And we had that little grinder, and I was grinding, and Betty was putting the meat in. And it wasn't staying in like she thought it ought to be. And she said, let's swap. You put the meat in, and I want to turn it. Okay? Well, she had that thing going. And that meat, when you do it too fast, the meat will come back. And I was trying to keep it in there, and she ground off the end of my finger. So that took care of our movie. We didn't get to the movie. That's how they met, right there. I introduced them. And it made a good marriage. It really did. He had them 5 girls.
It made 5.
beautiful girls.
There is one rotten one in the bun.
But you know, although my finger got ground off, it didn't hurt me. It hurt me. Yeah, there was a bunch of us at home. We had fun, but we worked, and we learned how to be civil to each other. We loved each other. We loved our brother. We loved our sister. We did. We sure did. And there's a good results to it here today. I'm proud of every one of you. I am. I've had a lot of you in my house. I have. Y'all come, spent some time when you were little at our house. And we had fun. We did. We enjoyed it. My husband, Linwood Lee, was raised with a brother and sister. All they done was fight. He was amazed at our family. He really was. We could get together and we could talk without fighting. But you put them three together and they wound up mad with each other. It was not, they didn't have to share. That was one thing. They didn't have to share nothing. But when you raised in a family of 11, you learned to share. You really did. You didn't, you'd be in bad shape. You would be miserable. You really would. And I just love everyone there so much. I just don't know how much I love you. I wish all of them could have been here, especially Jenny Carroll. She was always a special person. You know, she always thought I was her sister. But there wasn't much, there's not a lot of difference in our ages either. But, yeah. When Bud was born, Bud was not blessed to be born with everything working in his little body. He was tiny. You could put him in a shoebox, and that's where he slept for about 2 months, was in a shoebox.
How days they arrest you for that?
And I'd spent a lot of time with Marlitas because I wasn't big enough to get her to back her. But I was big enough to play with Joyce and Jenny Carroll. And we were more like sisters, I guess you would say. And then when they got old enough to come to the farm, they'd come and they worked in tobacco a few summers for us. We just tried so hard always to be a good family to each other. We really did. We were never perfect, now don't get me wrong. We had our problems, but we always tried to be a good family. And I'm proud of every one of you. I am, and I know that Penn is, and I know the others would have said the same thing if they could have been here. They would have said the same thing. So y'all just know that we're still here. We may not can do nothing much, but we're still here and we still love you. Really, really, really do.
We love all of y'all.
We love you too.
Well, you know, I wasn't born in the family. I was married into it, but I told Meemaw years ago, I said, something happens when me in jail, I get to keep the family. So there it is. So far, you know, we're still here. He gets to enjoy the family still.
And I know y'all got some good stories.
Yeah.
That's the reason we need to get together. Remember these things. They're important. I try to tell some of these kids, my kids, grandkids, sometimes I wonder if they're even listening. When you tell them, oh Lord, here we go again. David's got something else. But what I tell them is the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
They'll remember it one day. Yeah. They'll remember you telling them.
But that's about all we got time for. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of
Plenty of food.
Hey, I wanna say something real quick before we start doing whatever. So we've got a page written down for, I'm gonna call it one of the 11, all right? So you know what we're talking about? So find your part of the 11, and if you would, just write down on it, who their kids were, their kids, and so forth, so on. So, I don't know if that's ever been done, that we've got.
The board lead page
Right.
should have something.
Has it got it all on there?
Well, I put something on there a long time ago and started it, and I did it with the numbers, so
Right.
like,
First, second,
Buffalo
third.
would be
Right.
one, and kids, and I
Okay.
did as much as I knew to do then, so there's something to build on, and it should still be on that page, it's probably a few years old.
So I was hoping while everybody was here, there's a lot more of y'all, there isn't one of me, or one lady.
Right.
So, that would kind of help out if we could get it, just kind of wrote down. So, if you don't mind, I'd appreciate it.
I got this story that I'd like to tell y'all about my daddy and his sister Viola. My grandmother had a prize goose. Back then, most families had geese. You know what you use geese for? To make pillows. Yeah, the mattresses, that's what you use geese for. Well, my grandmother had this big, they said he was huge, goose. He was the one that fertilized the hens so they grow more geese. Well, it was Daddy and Aunt Viola's place to feed the geese. Well, this goose he was kind of a hog. And they'd shell corn and throw it in shell corn, and that goose could not get full. So they decided one time they'd fill him up. They caught him, and they poked the corn down his mouth. And they'd fill his esophagus up, then they'd stretch him, rub him, and make the corn go down in his stomach. Then they put more in him. They put more in, so the goose couldn't even drink water. He was so full. Well, he died. Well, grandmother was a little upset, they said. And Daddy and Aunt Viola kind of got their harness tore up. Daddy said he learned a lesson. He said that was miserable to see that goose die like that. He said that was worse than getting the whipping. But grandmother had another goose, but that was her prize goose. And they took care of that goose. They got tired of feeding it. You know, sometimes as kids, we do get ourselves in trouble, don't we? Yeah, we do. Yeah. But there was a lot of things Daddy told us about them and their things. Sometimes he comes to me and sometimes I don't think about it for a while. But as you go back in history, just go back 50 years and see the change from 50 years to now. And you mothers that's got kids, you know what I'm talking about. When you were growing up, you didn't have the things that you have given to your child. They are done things that you didn't do. When y'all were 5 years old, had you ever seen a mountain? No. How many mountains has your kids seen as they grew up? How many trips have they taken on ships and boats? You think about it. We work hard as parents to do some of those things for our kids that we never did get to do. I had never seen a mountain until I was grown. And Pam was living in Atlanta. That's when I saw my first mountain. I never seen snow like you see snow. It never snowed when I was little, not the first time. Well, we heard about it. We read the stories about snow. And I went on a few snow trips with Diane and her family since they moved to Texas. And I'm telling you right now, I'm glad I don't live there. It don't take long to get tired of snow. You can't walk, you can't do nothing, you can't even stand up. It's awful. I don't wanna live nowhere where there's snow. I'd rather fan than freeze. That is the truth. We went on one that we couldn't do nothing. We had to tie bandages things around our nose and mouth because our faces would freeze, our mouth would freeze. I mean, in just a few minutes, it was awful. I said, Lord, I'll be glad to get back to South Georgia. It's pretty to sit and look at it, but not to live in it for me. I am a hot weather person, you know. So, as growing up, and we read these Christmas stories about snow and jingle bells and dashing through the snow and all this kind of stuff, I always wondered, what is snow like? What is it like that it could be that much fun? But you got to learn to like it for it to be fun. And sure have. It's the same way when our cousins would come from Michigan, and we'd be barefooted and with shorts on. And that summer, in summer up there, it's still cold. And it was just completely different when they would come here as it was when we would go there. So, I love the South. I love the sun. I love it. A whole lot of difference in this world today than there has been in the past 50, 60 years.
She wants to say something.
Okay.
Aunt Jenny, did Grandma Boyette, did she make a habit of making quilts for grandsons' weddings and stuff like that?
Yes, she made me one.
She made me one. It's one of the last ones she made before she passed in jail and I got married.
Yeah.
And I've had it in cellophane all these years, you know, it's not, I could have brought it to show it. You didn't get one? Oh, yeah. I got one,
Talking about quilts.
See, that started something now.
Yeah, I got to tell you about this. I was not old enough to be in school. I started when I was 5. I wanted to go to bed. But this was before I was 5 years old. Dad's Aunt Belle Thornton had come to visit with us, and it was in the winter, to spend a few days with us. Well, Mama was quilting, and she could quilt. Well, Mama said I was always into something. And I was under the quilt on the floor. The quilt was on a frame up, and they were sitting around quilting. And I'd want my needle threaded. Well, Mama would thread me a needle and hand it to me. She, just to keep me quiet, I guess. And I would pick up the scraps and I'd sew. Try my best to sew. I wanted to make a quilt. Well, I just sewed up a whole bunch of junk. But Mama would always thread me another needle and hand it to me. And she saved those things that I sewed, and I didn't know this. And she made me a quilt, and she had it all done, and she put that stuff in the middle of my quilt. She had saved it, and made me a quilt, and it weren't in the house before she could get it in. I never got to see it. She would do things like that. She just could. But she made a lot of quilts. Yeah, she did. That's the way you had to keep warm. There's a lot of things that will come to you along and along that means a lot that you can't think of all at one time. But if we get together, we'll come up with some other stuff. This has been fun. This has been good. Yes. And I just pray that this new year will bless everyone and bless us all.
maybe we'll be able to do this again one day. Y'all come snack,
Well, Aunt Pam, do you wanna add something?
No. I can think of a lot of things, but you can't tell them all today. Can't tell them all
You
today.
can help her remember though.